Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from the Breeders Cup at Santa Anita Park here on Friday. It is the 3rd of November 2023. Going to look at all of Friday's Breeders' Cup races from the Great Race Place. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. And also join me tomorrow for my Breeders' Cup Saturday preview. It looks like it's going to be an extravaganza of racing, so I hope you join me for that. But today's card here on Future Stars Friday, you have some good racing, and I think you can make some money with some of these races. So we're going to look at races 5 through 9. We have a lot of races to get to. Let's start off with the 5th race, which is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. It's a grade 1 event going for $1 million purse, race for 2-year-olds here. We have a field of 15 horses entered, but the field is capped on the turf course. Only 12 could go. The 1,000-meter journey, or 5 furlongs on the Santa Anita turf course, almost at a mile, but 1,000 meters or 5 furlongs on the turf course. Portable rails are down on the turf course here at Santa Anita for the first time in a minute, it seems. So you'll be running on somewhat fresh ground. But it's like I've noticed, I haven't watched a lot of Santa Anita, but going back, especially like the last week now, I did watch some, this past weekend's racing. The turf course looks a little bit more used going into a Breeders' Cup than I remember. So, just you want to keep that in mind. But the inside looks good. But the outside pass, not so much. I'm going to go take the, here in the Juvenile Turf Sprint, I'm going to take the 9-horse Admist Waves. I'm going to go 9-2-4-8 in the superfecta. 9-2-4-8 super, top selection 9-horse Admist Waves is truthfully by Midshipman. George Weaver trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 8th of October at Keeneland. 5.5 furlongs in the Indian Summer Stakes, and he finished second by a nose that day. They were, going a pretty good fraction up there on the front end. He just kind of stalked that day. He was really gaining late. He just missed late. The winner, who's running back in this one today, just had the jump on him, but this horse, he ran his heart out that day. Committee of One, who just closed up from nowhere. This horse, he ran his heart out behind him. Refreshing here. From an inside poster will be, from an outside poster, will probably try to leave to get somewhat good position. I don't see him on the front end, but I could see him just stalking the front pair, and I think he could really run a good race and win. George Weaver 2-year-old horses is here at stateside have been running absolutely incredible, better than Wesley Ward horses, I think, and they've been running at a good price here. He's this year is 21% with his 2-year-olds, which is quite impressive. 2 back, the horse ran the Bolton's Landing at Saratoga, 5.5 on the Mellon Turf Course, 20th of August. He won by a nose that day, and again, he stalked that day a little bit wide, but it took him a little bit of time to get going, but he got the job done. A very good, easy race for him, coming home with 71 buyer. Keep in mind, second place finisher Crown Imperial was the next start winner. And then the Colleen down at Monmouth, 5 furlongs, 29th of July. First time winners, first time stakes quality horses. It wasn't the deepest race in the world, but he won by 1.5 lengths, and again had a very good, easy race in the front end. I thought he showed potential last time out from a track, versatility last time out, shall I say, with the with coming off the back of the pack in the Indian Summer. Also, he could set the pace. Even in his main victory at Belmont, going 5 on the wider and the main special weight, he won by 3 3/4 lengths, and he was 20-1 outside post, a 20-1 outside horse, but he really took off clearly. That was a very good strong run. I was there at Belmont. That was one of the most impressive victories for a 2-year-old at Belmont I saw in person this past spring. So, I kept him on my radar. He's training well at Saratoga on the Oklahoma train turf. I'm going to give him a shot here at 8-1. Out of the Weaver horses, I think he's the likeliest winner. I think the second likeliest Weaver horse and second likeliest winner in this race is the 2-horse, No Name Mets. 2-year-old colt by No Name Never. George Weaver trains. Irad Tees Jr. gets them out. Most recently ran a Colonial 5.5 on the outer turf course in the Rosies, and the horse won by 3 1/4 lengths that day and had the speed from the inside to win that day. He flew home. 78 buyer, I thought that was a very good effort. Coming here to this turf course, 5 furlongs especially with the rails down, does play towards speed quality horses from the inside. He has that poster. He gets Irad up, who knows the speed very well. If this horse breaks, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets loose on the front end to get a good trip to go all the way here. Only thing that sucks with him is 4-1. 2 back in the Tyro, my Monmouth, 5 furlongs, 30th of July. First start back from Royal Ascot wasn't a problem. He won by 5.5 lengths that day, and again on the front end all throughout, even after not the best beginnings. It was a very good, easy race for him there. And then the Norfolk Royal Ascot, 5 furlongs fast ground, 22nd of June. He finished ninth by 7 1/4 lengths that day. He was with them early on, but then he just never quickened up. Valiant Force, who was a winner and running back in this one today, really took off clear. This horse, he just was flat that day. He needed the race, I think, for the experience. And then on debut at Gulfstream in the Royal Palm Juvenile, he won by 3.5 lengths, and he was flying on the front end. Came home with 72 buyer, which is quite good early on in the season. He's definitely been on the improve. Coming off of the bench, he could win. Even the 4-horse Big Eves from the UK for Mick Appleby and Tom Marquand was a winner in the Flying Childer Stakes at Doncaster in mid-September, quite nicely on soft ground. Won by 2 1/4 lengths from on the front end. I thought it was a very good race. His only subpar race was against older horses. That came in the 9th rope at York over the 5. He finished 14th by 8 lengths that day, and he just never really got going late. He was with them early on, but then just completely crumbled. He got beat by classier horses on the day. He's not there yet, but was the winner of the Windsor Castle at the Royal Meeting at Ascot. Came back to win a very nice victor in the Goodwood Stakes. It's a good inside poster here today. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets a good trip to win. I'll use him in the multi-race wagers. There is a pick 5 here stateside that begins with this race, so I think you want to go 3 deep in this one. Also an all turf pick 3 that begins with this race, so I think you want to go a little deep with this one. But to recap my selection for the 5th from Santa Anita, it is the grade $1 million Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Gonna take the 9-horse Admist Waves as a top selection. We'll give kudos to the 2-horse No Name Mets and the 4-horse Big Eves. 9248 Super, 924 in our multi-race. Let's head over to race number 6 now. From Santa Anita, it is the NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. It's a grade 1 event going for a $2 million purse race for Fillies 2-year-olds here. We have a field of 13 horses, a baker's dozen going the 1,700-meter journey, or mile 16th on the main track. Going to take the 7-horse Tamara as a top selection, 7-1-11-9 in the superfecta. 7-1-11-9 super, top selection 7-horse Tamara. This 2-year-old filly by Bolt d'Oro. Dick Mandela trains one for Spendrift. Mike Smith gets the mounts. The horse's most recent outing came the Del Mar debutante at Del Mar, 7 furlongs, 9th of September, and this horse put on a show. She won by 6 3/4 lengths. She stalked that day after not the best beginnings, but when she got the turn a foot late, she kept going. She probably could have won by more, but Mike didn't want to kill the horse. Coming over with a very strong 91 buyer. That was a good race. Training incredibly well since the last race. Henny Hughes on the sire side, he was a sprinter, but on the dam side, but the Beholder, everybody's going to the Henny Hughes, but she is a Beholder filly here, and Beholder, let's see, she won the Juvenile Fillies in 2012, won the distaff, let's see, in 2013, 14 and 17, 16, something like that. She won it 3 times. I can't even remember now. But she's one of the best horses of the last of the new millennium, I think. Beholder, and I think her offspring can be a chance of doing her good here today. And we all have to remember Bolt d'Oro. He wasn't a bad horse, especially his sire Medaglia d'Oro, great horse. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they run? This has to be 20 years ago. It must have been 20 years ago now. If I'm not mistaken, then Bobby Frankel run, what's his name, in the Medaglia d'Oro in the Breeders' Cup Mile in 2003 here at Santa Anita. It was either him or Peace Rules. Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head right now which one it was. I'm pretty sure Medaglia d'Oro, but I always thought that was the wrong idea, and I'm pretty sure whoever it was finished like dead last. That was your Six Perfections, I believe, won with Jerry Bailey, but. That's it's prime Breeders' Cup for me, that 2003 one, but I'm going off on a tangent. But this horse coming around 2 turns for the first time, I don't think should be a problem. She's bred for it through and through, and I think she gets good post draw to get a good trip here today. On debut, she ran mid-August at Del Mar, 6.5 in main special weight, and she won by 2 1/4 lengths. Again, if there's a thing to knock about her, she doesn't get out of the gate so clearly. So she didn't break so well. She kind of sat back early, but she slowly moved her way into the race, and then she got the job winning by open lengths. It was a very good race with an 80 buyer. What I want to see from her today is she has to break. If she breaks, she might be, she might win by open legs. She's done everything right so far. Big test now around 2 turns. I'm going to give her a massive shot. A horse I'll give a shot to is the 1-horse Candied. I think she's the second likeliest winner here for Tom Pletcher and Luis Saez. Most recently, now Alcibiades at Keeneland over the mile 16th in early October. She won by a length that day, and she stalked all the way around the race course coming from mid-pack, a little bit wide, but she really took off clear with the short stretch. A very nice effort around 2 turns for the first time. Refreshing here, back around 2 turns. Gets good inside post draw. I think this horse could really run a good race and get the job done. Two back at Saratoga on debut, 6 furlongs in mid-August in the main special weight. She went by 3/4 length. Again, a little bit wide that day, but she didn't have a lot of gate speed. But she slowly moved her way into the race. A very, very good run. Training well at Keeneland. Back around 2 turns. This horse could definitely win. A very likely winner. I'll use this horse in the multi-race wager. Pick 4 begins with this race. I think you want to use her there. But to recap my selection for the 6 from Santa Anita now, it's Breeders Cup Juvenile Fillies. Gonna take the 7-horse Tamara. Give kudos to the 1-horse Candide. 7-1, 11-9 Super. 7-1 in our multi-race. Let's head over to race number 7 now from Santa Anita. Race number 7 from Santa Anita. It's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. It's a Grade 1 event going for $1 million purse race for 2-year-old fillies here. We have a field of, 16 horses entered, but only 14 could go, so 15 and 16 are both AEs. 14 could go to the turf course. The distance of ground is 1,600 meters or a mile on the Santa Anita turf course. My top selection here, going to go with the 9-horse Carla's Way. I'm going to go 9-11. 5-12 in the superfecta. 9-11, 5-12 super. Top selection 9-horse Carla's Way. 2-year-old filly by Star Spangled Banner. Simon Christopher trains this one. James Doyle gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Group 2 Rockfell Stakes in Newmarket. 7 furlongs on the 29th of September, and the horse won by 2 1/4 lengths that day. And he stalked a nice pace in front of him. He slowly moved his way up into the race. And when he got the lead, he kept going. Nobody was catching him. I think he could have probably won by more. But I think with the fast ground, he went up a lot. Coming here around 2 turns for the first time. A little bit up in class, but I don't think he has to quicken up a lot to get the job done. I think he could get a good race to win. 2 back, he ran in the Group 3 Prestige Stakes at Goodwood the 26th of August, and he finished second by 2 lengths that day. And she just, she wanted to go. David Probert had the horse on a stranglehold, and I think that cost him that day. He just really couldn't catch the winner, Darnation, who was the next start winner, to the wire. But I thought she ran her heart out, but he behind a decent filly there. And then prior to that over trip, I thought too short for her at Royal Ascot. 6 furlongs in the Group 3 Albany Stakes. She finished 8th by 5 1/4 lengths that day. She never quakened out of it, but she never quickened up either. She just kind of plodded along. The horses who are more elite at a sprinting trip beat her that day. This horse just wasn't getting into it. But on debut in early June at Doncaster, she won quite nicely over the 6 in a Class 5 maidens race. She won by 2 1/4 lengths that day. An easy trip she won from, an easy tracking trip. Nothing bad about that run. Coming here today, stepping up in class, definitely been on the improve. She could definitely win. Watch out for this one. If I'm not mistaken, the KHK Racing, if I'm not mistaken, I think that might be James Doyle's new retainer in the UK for next season. I did see something in the Racing Post, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it is. But I'm going to the bank on that one with me. I didn't read the full article. But I think your second likeliest winner here is 11-horse She Feels Pretty for Cherie DeVoe and John Velasquez. 2-year-old for the Carcanite here. I believe it's 9 years ago now since Carcanite won from the parking lot to win that Breeders' Cup mile. It seemed like everybody had him that day, but he was still like 100 to 1. But She Feels Pretty ran most recently in the Grade 1 to Talma at Woodbine, a mile on the EP Taylor Law on the 16th of September. Off the 2-month refreshing, the horse won by 4 1/4 lengths that day. Horrible beginning, had a horrible poster, was stupidly wide throughout, but when he got the turn a foot late, he kept going. That was a very good, strong, impressive victory after all that trepidation early. Refreshing here. With a little bit of refreshing, enough to overcome wide post draw, but I think this horse can get a good trip and find the winner's circle here today. Opposed to the juvenile race, the juvenile boys race that tends to be more towards European-based horses winning that. The Fillies equivalent of the 2-year-old turf races for here on Breeders' Cup Day. These American-based horses have a very good record, better than the European horses. So just keep that in mind. But I do think the last few years the Europeans in this race have been running quite nicely, and and this year I think the European entries have been, I think they're more elite this year than they have been in years past. Last year wasn't bad either, but this year I think it's a good shipment they sent over from the UK. On debut, this She Feels Pretty ran on the 16th of July at Ellis, 5 1/2 in the main special weight, winning by a neck that day. Again, not the best beginnings out of the gate. She was stupidly wide. But she got the job done at the nick of time. A very good race after all is said and done. But I don't think she wants to go 5.5. I think she wants to go a mile and eighth, and probably in the future. But coming to a mile here today, training very well. Could be forwardly paced, or if she wants, or come from a little bit behind. At 4-1, I'm going to use her. I think you also have to use the 5 horse here, content for Ryan Moore and Ian O'Brien in the Coolmore group. Most recently ran the horse in a Group 3 at the Kerr over the mile in soft ground in early October, where she won by 3.5 lengths that day. And it took her a little bit of time to get going, but she really took off clear late. 20-1 as an upsetter. A very nice run for her that day as the outsider. Prior to that, in the Weld Park Stakes at the Kerr, 7 furlongs in September, she finished 6 by 9 lengths that day. And again, she wanted to go, and Ryan Moore didn't let her go. It was just not a recipe for success there. And then the Inga Bell Stakes at Leopardstown over the 7 in September. She finished second by 2 3/4 lengths. She had the lead. She got overtaken late. Maybe she just wasn't 100% keen that day. But if they let the horse run today, she could definitely win. If they could slow it down with her, that should be better also. 15-1. I'll use her on the ticket. Like I said, hopefully just Ryan lets her run. If they let her run, she can win. And also watch out for the 12 horse. Hard to justify for Chad Brown. Almost forgot about her. Most recently in the Miss Grillo Aqueduct over the mile 16, she won by a half a length that day and had a dream trip from the inside. They were basically walking on the front end, almost 115 3/4, but she really quickened up nicely off of those fractions from the front end. A very good race. Another horse that's going to have to overcome a wide posture, but I think she has hidden ability that could get it done for her. Let's use her in the ticket. And there's very wide open juvenile Fillies turf. But to recount my selection for the 7th now from Santa Anita, it is the Grade 1 $1 million Breeders Cup Juvenile Fillies turf. Going to take the 9 horse here. The 9 horse Carla's Way. Give kudos to the 11 horse. She feels pretty. The 5 horse here, who is content, and the 12 horse hard to justify. Where are we? 9, 11, 5, 12 super, 9, 11, 5, 12 in our multi-race. We'll use all 4 of them, and that's multi-race pick 4. The featured 8th race, I guess, on this Friday program now from Santa Anita. It is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $2 million purse. Race for 2-year-olds here. We have a field of 11 horses going 1,700 meters or a mile 16th on the main track. Gonna take the 6 horse Locked as a top selection. Let's go 6-2-4-8 in the superfecta. 6-2-4-8 super, top selection 6 horse Locked. This 2-year-old colt by Gunrunner. Todd Pletcher trains. Jose Ortiz gets the leg up. The horse's most recent outing came in Kentucky at Keeneland, a mile 16th in the Breeders' Futurity, and the horse won by a half a length that day. This horse had a horrible post-draw, 8 of 8. Going 2 turns, especially mile 16th, not the ideal post-draw. He was wide throughout, but he sat back early, and again, he slowly moved his way into the somewhat slowly paced, which was quite impressive, and they timed the race perfectly. He was driving at the end, and he got the job done with a short stretch. He showed potential that day. Getting a better poster here today could get to the front end a little bit easier and not gain so much ground like his last race. I think he's sitting on a good race to find the winner's circle again here today. He ran on the 1st September at Saratoga over the Wilson Mile, a race you either like or hate. I have a love-hate race relationship with the Wilson Mile at Saratoga, it seems. This past summer, I hated it. 2 summers ago, or last summer, I quite liked it in 2022 when they reintroduced the Wilson Mile. But this past summer, I thought we just saw a little bit too many Wilson Mile races. I think we should have saw 2-turn mile in the 8th races. Usually for 2-year-olds at Saratoga, they run the mile in the 8th race like at the end of the meeting last September. This year they just ran it out of the Wilson chute, which I thought was horrible. But this horse still won by 7 3/4 lengths that day. Not the best beginnings, and you had to be quarter horse to get good position. But after that, he took off clear. He was the freshest of the rest that day. 75 cents a dollar, not the best price in the world, but he went away like a 75 cents a dollar horse should do. Keep in mind, the second place finisher was an X-Star winner, also drum roll please. And even on debut, he didn't run half bad in a very tough 2-year-old race in the main specialweight Saratoga over the 6, finishing 3rd by 3.5 lengths. Not the best beginnings that day, but he was gaining that day. He gained a lot of lengths. Training well, Keelan. I'll give him a massive shot. I think the 2-horse Prince of Monaco is your second likeliest winner. Chiro Colt by Spicetown. Bob Baffert trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. Biggest question with him, a lot of people question Tamara around 2 turns. I don't think that should be a problem. I think Prince of Monaco's biggest question will be the 2 turns. But I think he's a highly bred horse here. He only bought him for $950,000. Most recently, in the Del Mar Futurity over the 7 at Del Mar, he won by a 3-course length and a 5 cents a dollar. He basically won it or tried. Could have won by a little bit more at 5 cents a dollar, but it was still a very good race that day. He ran terrifically, though, in the best pal Del Mar. 6 furlongs, 13th of August. Winning by 4.5 lengths that day from a tracking trip. He was a little bit wide, but he really gained that day. That was a very good race. A 103 buyer, I think that's the best of any 2-year-old this season so far here stateside, which is, just incredible. And then prior to that, Losal, 5 furlongs in the main special weight, winning by 8 lengths on the front and all throughout. Even after the horrible beginning that day, he still took off clear. He is training well. Again, biggest question with him will be, can he go 2 turns? I think he can. I'll use him on the ticket, but there is still a question with him. And even the 4-horse Timberlake, I think he could win also for Brad Cox and Florent Giroux. The biggest question with him is, or not the question, it's just that hopeful race. It came back very slow. I don't know if is the buyer speed figure just slow because a lot of horses just in fire handle the track. He finished second by 2.25 lengths behind Nutella Fellow, who's not the best horse in the world. This horse is just wide, and he just couldn't catch Nutella Fellow, who just benefited of the pace meltdown that day. He came back to run in the Champagne, which he won by 4.25 lengths on the slop at Belmont at Aqueduct quite nicely. A little bit wide, but you want to be wide on the sloppy tracks at Aqueduct. And, it was a very good going away victory at 5-1. Even on debut at Ellis over the 70, he won by 9.25 lengths from a tracking trip. He is going around 2 turns for the first time. Shouldn't be a problem. 4-1, let's use him. But the biggest question with him is that hopeful. It's just the number is just a little bit too short. It just pops out of you. He's another very likely winner. 4-1, let's use him. But to recap my selection for the 8th now, from Santa Anita, it's Breeders Cup Juvenile. Going to take the 6-horse Lock to give kudos to the 2-horse Presence of Monaco and the 4-horse Timberlake. 6-2-4-8 Super. 6-2-4 in our multi-race. The 9th race, I think this is probably my favorite race of the afternoon now from Santiago. The 9th race, it is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. It's a grade 1 event going for $1 million purse, race for 2-year-olds here. We have a field of 14 horses entered to go the 1,600-meter journey, or 1 mile on the Santina turf course. Going to take the 2-horse River Timber as a top selection, or River Tiber as a top selection. Going to go 2-3-14-8 in the superfecta. 2-3-14-8 super. Top selection 2-horse River Tiber. This 2-year-old colt by Witten Bassett. Ian O'Brien trains. Ryan Moore gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Group 1 Middle Park Stakes at Newmarket. 6 furlongs, 30th of September. And the horse finished third by 3.5 lengths that day. And he was just, stalking down the race course. I do think he wanted a longer trip, just couldn't quicken up to his full potential. I didn't think it was a half bad race. In his last 2 starts, he got beat by a decent horse called Van Dijk, who was a multiple stakes winner. Not facing him today over a longer trip, which, like I said, this horse has been crying out for. It could be forwardly paced with a good post draw. I think he's sitting in a very good run, and I think he could get the job done. Ian O'Brien does have a very good record in this race. 2 back in the pre-morning at Deauville, 6 furlongs, 20th of August. He finished third by 3.5 lengths that day, and again, he sat back early. He quickened up a little bit that day, but Van Dijk really had the jump on him, his nemesis in his short career. But if you take that race, his last 2 races out, he was perfect. He won the Coventry at Royal Ascot over the 6 by a neck, closing up from a very nice front end trip. He was a little bit sweaty that day. Even marks it in the racing for him, but he really did run a good race. And then novice race at Nice in May over the 5, win by 2.25 lengths that day. Again on the front end all throughout, a very easy victory, even though he wasn't 100% into it early on, shall I say. And then a Navan on heavy ground in a 5-round main race, winning by 10 that day. Again, easy race on the front and showing some speed. He has some speed. He can come from behind a little bit also. I think he's been crying out for the mile. I'm going to use him. I think that the 3-horse Talk is your wise guy horse in any of these races in the Breeders' Cup. He's either going to run a massive race and win by a mile or hit the wall completely. Grab Motion trains this 2-year-old colt by Quality Road. John Velazquez gets the mounts. He had a horrible trip in the Breeders' Cup in the Bourbon at Keeneland over the mile 16th, 8th of October. He finished 5th by 2 lengths. It looked like he broke a little bit outside that day, but he got good position from an inside poster, and he sat back down to the inside down the backstretch. Slowly down the backstretch, he did get some nudges from Johnny to get into it, and he finally did. And then he looked like he was blocked in the lane, and then he found an opening on the rail. Johnny got to the opening, and then he found a brick wall to run into, which was a shame. It was an all-out finish, a little bit tight late. He was loaded. He just had no room to run, but he looked like he ran his heart out. It was a low buyer, but I didn't think it was a very bad race from him at all. I think he showed potential that day. I think with a very good inside poster, getting blinkers on so he can concentrate, so he doesn't have to get those love nudges from Johnny down the backstretch. I think this horse could really, improve off that run and get a good clear trip to win. Two back in the Kitten's Joy, Colonial, mile 16th inner turf course, 9th of September. He won by 1.5 lengths that day. And again, he sat from a tracking trip down the backstretch a little bit wide late, but he really took off clear. A 61 buyer, not the fastest race for him, but it was a very good eye-catching run. And then debut at Colonial over the 5.5 on the outer in a main specialway in late July, winning by a half a length that day. Again, probably not his preferred trip, but he really took off clear. I like that they're giving him blinkers on today that could concentrate him. Like I said, I thought he showed potential. Keeneland with that horrible trip last time out, improving with a better poster here today at 20-1. I love him a lot. He's definitely going to get a nice wager from me on the ticket. I think your third likeliest winner horse I'm definitely going to use in the ticket is the 14 horse Carson's Run. This Tyrrell Colt by Cupid. Christophe Clement trains. Dylan Davis gets the mounts. Very cool for Dylan Davis, a very, very underrated rider here in New York to finally to get a Breeders' Cup winner. I don't believe his dad, Robbie Davis, ever had a Breeders' Cup winner, but it'd be cool for him, Dylan, to give the family one. It seems like the Davis family, they're winning everything lately at NYRA, which it just depends which one's in the winner's circle, Dylan, Jackie, or Katie, or even Trevor McCarthy, but he's had a slow meeting, it seemed, last time out. The last meeting at Belmont, but Carson's Run most recently ran the Summer Stakes at Woodbine, 1 mile on the 16th of September, where he won by 2.25 lengths that day. And again, he doesn't show a lot of gate speed that day, but he sat back early, off of the hot pace in front, which really suited him well. He was stupidly wide in lane, but he was gaining like an express train. I thought that was a very good run. Gonna have to overcome a wide poster here today, but I think that could be to his benefit here. If he's gonna come from the back, if he's just wide throughout, I think I'll have clear sailing room late to get the good turn of foot. But if he could save on that ground, that'll be good also. But don't be 20 wide, but don't be stuck on the inside like Tok was in the Bourbon. Prior to that, first time stakes quality horse in the with anticipation at Saratoga, mile 16th in early August. He finished second by a half a length that day. Again, a little bit wide, but he was gaining that day. The winner was actually a filly, Gallup Brand, who's actually, I believe, running earlier today in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Turf. They ran her there because they moved the filly race to the Dervs off the turf. They actually got this race on the turf. And she beat the boys quite nicely. This horse just wide, and he was gaining that day, but he needs something more. But he showed potential that day, and then debut at July at Saratoga, mile 16th in the main special weight, winning by a neck that day, stupidly wide, but he got the job done. He definitely improved with every single race. He's training well on the training turf at the Oklahoma course at Saratoga at 6-1. Watch out for him. But to recap my selections now for the 9th from Santa Anita, it is the Grade 1 $1 million Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Gonna take the 2-horse River Tiber as a top selection. Give kudos to the 3-horse Tok and the 14-horse Carson's Run, 2-3-14-8 Super, 2-3-14, and our multi-race. So, good luck to all. Remember to check out my Breeders' Cup Saturday preview, which will be live very soon here on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world. Good luck, everybody.